Hello and welcome back to another episode of your favorite couch potatoes with your redneck boys, Kyle and Wesley. Wesley, how you doing today?
Doing fantastic.
Awesome. I love to hear it. Just as always for you. Okay, let's get started with Dover recap. It was kind of an exciting, surprising um, start for me, Kyle Busch fan. He got to start on the pole actually, which was surprising for him. He even said himself that he's not much of a qualifier. That's why he doesn't really get that many poles. But yeah, he was able to start on the pole. Ryan Blaney started outside, and Kyle was able to lead the first 33 laps before Ryan Blaney overtook him.
Yeah, yeah. Good for Kyle Busch.
Yeah,
Like you said, he's not usually the guy to be starting that high. He's usually a guy that starts middle of the pack and makes his way to the top. So
yep,
good for him to start on the pole.
yeah. And other than that, so once Ryan Blaney took the lead, I mean, it was kind of, single file. There wasn't too much passing, except for three guys mainly: Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, and Truex. They all kind of started 15th and back, 15th to 25th, I believe. Those three cars showed speed, and they were the ones that kind of made their way up through the field. Um, then it was I can't remember what lap it was. Pretty early on, Todd Gilliland, he actually spun trying to avoid Austin Dillon, so he caused a wreck trying to avoid a wreck because he just had to correct a little too much.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, so that allowed everybody to come in, take tires, and they were talking about because uh, the weather was like abnormally nice for what they're
yeah,
used to at Dover. So it kind of we had a little bit of a rubber situation, not quite as bad as Bristol, but just a lot of rubber was being laid down early on. So kind of shook things up, allowed everybody to kind of reset and get ready for the second half of stage two, or
yeah,
sorry, stage one.
yeah. It's weird for NASCAR to have good weather a lot of the time. So
Seriously.
especially last season, it was just rainy season every
Yep.
race.
Yep. How many Mondays? And then Martin Truex Jr. was like the Monday King or whatever. Like he
Hmm.
won almost every race that was on a Monday or something like that. But
Mm.
um, then William Byron ends up passing Ryan Blaney for the lead on lap 79. And then Blaney started kind of falling off about 15 laps later, and he was getting mad at his crew and stuff, or just not necessarily mad, but just frustrated overall, kind of yelling, just because his car started kind of falling off. Which I noticed, like Kyle too. Like, yeah, he started on the pole, but then he just kind of slipped on back ever so
Hmm.
slowly and made his way back. But then Truex came out of nowhere, and I remember we talked about him last week. He was my first pick because he's always so good here. So he came all the way for 15th, and then takes the lead with 6 laps to go before Brad Keselowski ends up spinning out uh, to end stage one, which gave Truex the stage win. And then, uh, oh my gosh, you remember the fight with Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer about the caution?
Yeah. Yeah, just all around. I think that I mean Brad spinning out. It gives it makes it hard on Truex and to try to get that stage win. And I it seemed like a hard race all around. Everybody was laying rubber down, and um, yeah, Ryan Blaney and finishes fourth, and Kyle Busch fell back to seventh after getting the stage or the pole sitting. Um, Kyle Busch staying at seventh after falling back that hard. Um, I think it was good on him, and yeah, it was a good race all around. So yeah, going into stage two now. Not a lot of action, but of course, Fox goes to commercial right in the green green flag pit stop. Of course, Fox does that. I mean, it happens all the time. They just I don't know what's up with their broadcast, but they always have to go to commercial at the worst times. It's
Seriously, I mean, like I like Fox, but like compared to NBC, I don't know why, but then at the same time, I just look so dumb saying that all the time because then we just sit there and of course, I've made it clear my like opinions on Mike Joy and how I just don't like how he's like so hateful on the drivers, and then he'll just say stupid things at random times, and yeah, so we're just kind of going through the boring stages, and then remember he said, and green flag stops expected in like 6 laps, so we're gonna go to break. And then they go to break, come back, half the field's already done their green flag pit stops, and it's like, okay, perfect. The one thing that we were probably going to be excited to see in stage two, you cut away to. And then
yeah.
yeah, and there was that Kevin Harvick Clint Boyer argument. It was sorry, just throw it back to stage one because it was just so funny because like they went back and forth for like I don't know 4 or 5 times where Kevin's like I think his right rear went down and Clint's like no no it didn't go down, it was he just got a little bit of caught a little bit of air off the side of the other car, and no, I think the right rear went down. No, Kevin, it did not. And then Kevin, like eventually, I think they go to his radio or something, and it says right rear down, and Kevin was all happy about that. But I don't know, just the dynamic with Fox. It hasn't been the same since good old Darrell Waltrip left, and I even think having Larry McReynolds he used to be in the booth, not just a like strategy pick guy, and it was almost better then. But yeah, and then of course, like you said, go to commercial right when the interesting stuff is happening.
Yeah. I mean, what's the other one? CBS?
NBC.
NBC's not much better either with their
Yeah.
commentators going down into pit row right in the middle of the race, so they have to start screaming over the cars.
Yep.
They did that last year too. So I mean,
We'll
of
have to
course,
see. I know they have a bunch of new TV deals next year, I think. So hopefully some of those places do a little bit better job because yeah, we need to get
hopefully,
this figured out.
uh huh. But moving on in stage two, Kyle Larson has a great pit stop and makes up 2 positions and takes the lead, and does not look back, wins stage two.
Yep.
Alex Bowman makes it up to second, Denny Hamlin third, Truex fourth, and Kyle Busch at fifth. I think that's good. I mean, Kyle Busch actually fighting this week through
Yep.
stage one and stage two. I mean, it's been weird seeing him not fight for those top 5, top 10 positions,
Yep.
especially this season. Just seems like we've said it almost every podcast now, but I think Kyle Busch is just falling back, not having strong cars. It's good for him this week to have a strong car like that.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, he was, I think, just in the top 10 all day. And yeah, he made his way like slowly back, like I said, in stage one. But then after that, he just kind of stayed around and kind of kept up there. And yeah, so it's good for him. I know this was a frustrating stage for Truex because he started to look like the car to beat in the end of stage one. Then he doesn't have the good pit stop. Like you said, Kyle Larson has the stop and he's able to make not only the positions but the time on the track, and he comes out seconds ahead. And then good for Bowman too. I know we talked a lot about Bowman like in our power rankings and everything, and it's always been a strong track for him. And there was a little bit of clip because I only saw it after, but uh, I don't know if you've seen the videos or something, but like NASCAR, somebody posted it, and Bowman was like bitching about Larson aero blocking him, and he says something on the radio, and then his spotter's like basically like quit bitching and just go get it if you want that position. He doesn't have to give it to you or something. And then Bowman's like, Kevin, will you just shut up and let me drive the car? It's like okay, but he did
I
have a
feel
good
like
race for him.
tensions were high this week between drivers and pit crew. I mean, that just
Yeah.
kind of bad strategy all around for
Yep.
everybody. especially when you're racing so hard in stage one that everybody has to come down and get fresh tires off of the pit or off the caution, which I mean,
Yep.
usually you do, but it seems like it was a hard race this week for everybody.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of back and forth people that were doing it, like Larson having the good pit stops, and then going on to stage three. So Denny Hamlin was the one that has a good pit stop, and there was a little bit of controversy here, especially for the Denny Hamlin fan haters. But so basically, Bowman and Larson were already driving down pit road. So this was during the stage break between two and three. And
Uh-huh.
so they've already made their stops. They're driving down pit road to just exit. And then Hamlin comes out and he has to kind of avoid a car in front of him. But what he ends up doing is pinching Bowman into just a no-win situation where he's got Larson here, and then he pinches Bowman off, and Bowman has to give way, and he would have been like second coming off pit road or something, so he is forced to lose a spot. And obviously Hamlin was aggressive in doing it, but I mean it's still racing on pit road, and if Bowman decided to be aggressive, maybe Hamlin gets damage, but then Bowman gets damaged too, maybe tire rubs or something like that. So it is what it is. I don't really have a problem with it, but some might.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I I don't have much of a problem with it. I mean, racing's racing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's everybody's going to be fighting, no matter where you're at on the track, pit row or fighting for first, coming across the finish line at the last lap. You know what I mean? Everybody's going to be fighting for positions.
Yep.
Um, that's how it always goes. I mean, wherever you get a chance to move up, you always take it.
Yeah.
So, I fucking hate Denny Hamlin, but and I'll be the first to tell you, he's like my number one most hated driver that I have.
Yeah.
But, but yeah, I can't, I can't put nothing against him for trying to get a spot on pit road,
Right.
especially.
Yeah. I think you said it last week. That's especially in today's day where these next gen cars that it's just so hard to pass in
Uh-huh.
general that pit rows where you get so many of these positions. So got to
Right.
take advantage, got to be aggressive there too.
Yep.
So yeah, he ends up winning. He kind of sets sail for a lot of stage three, but then during the green flag pit stops again, Kyle Larson's team just on the money, and they beat Denny Hamlin off pit road. I think that Hamlin had like I could be wrong, but from what I remember, I think he had like a 2 second lead or something coming into pits, and then Larson kind of used Hamlin as like a gauge. So as Hamlin's coming down pit road, he, slows down to pit road speed or whatever. And Larson kind of just sent it and then hit the brakes real hard or whatever. So he comes down right behind Hamlin and then has a better pit stop, gets out like a second ahead of him. Um, but then, so he beats him off pit road. But then shortly after, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Spins and caution comes out after those pit stops are done.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle Busch, that is, had already come down during the caution, but I guess they weren't sure if he got it full of fuel, so they had him come back down. But I guess with lap cars and everybody else that came back down, I was like, oh my God, like his race is over. But he only fell back to like eighth or so,
Yeah.
so it wasn't too bad, and he was able to make up some positions. And then I guess that after that, the you could call it the big one of Dover, because obviously Dover always has that. It's right out of turn two, and I know it's a problem always. That's where the big wrecks happen at this track, and that's where I always fuck up when I'm playing like the NASCAR video games.
Me too.
You come
Me
right off
too.
that turn, and it's just like I don't know. It's so weird because you got the bumps and stuff, and so you can hit that wall on the outside like so easy, even though you don't
Yep.
think you're going to, and
It's
then
hard
there's just
to.
not a lot of space too,
It's
so a lot
definitely
of
hard to
chaos
gauge
happens
that.
there.
It's definitely hard to gauge that. What kind of speed you need to carry through that turn too.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can
But yeah,
see that's definitely the spot for the big one. So.
yep, and that's exactly where it happened. Where Bubba Wallace ends up spinning out, he collects some big names, Christopher Bell, and then William Byron, who had been having a pretty decent day all day, and so they all get knocked out of this race. But So we got another caution. So Kyle Larson did get the lead, but then Hamlin was able to overtake him. And then that just kind of set up for an amazing battle for the last like 25 laps. So Kyle Larson, it was about with 25 to go that he caught back up to him. And then it was almost just the flip of what Kyle Larson was able to do to Tyler Reddick back in Las Vegas. There was just that aero blocking going on.
Mm-hmm.
So Hamlin was running the low line and Larson was running the high line. And he just, once Larson gets close enough, he adjusts his line. He starts running the middle and then up high and ends up just kind of blocking him off and gets the race win.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with these new gen cars, it's just super easy to aero block anybody um, through all these turns. I mean, you can really slow somebody down that's trying to get speed out of the turn,
Yep.
um, which it kind of sucks because then you get races. I mean, yeah, it's a good battle, but then you get races like this where you just see them, like especially with Larson. In Larson's case, when he did it, I mean, who was he battling for that one? Wasn't it Reddick?
Tyler
It was
Reddick.
Reddick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, in that one specifically, I mean, the aero blocking that Larson pulled off. I mean, you got to be a good driver to do it. So obviously, they're oh, what are the words I'm trying to find right now? Um, Tyler Reddick. I mean, it's hard for that second place driver, and it kind of ruins some of the battles with the arrow blocking.
Yeah.
Um, and that's where we were talking about you have to be aggressive in the pits. So, I mean, you have to
Yep.
basically be side by side with that first place guy coming into the final laps to be able to do anything
Yep.
because everybody's starting to figure out the arrow blocking. So,
Exactly. It does make it a good battle, but it could almost be better. And you feel like like Larson this race and then Reddick in Vegas, like they were the better cars and probably almost should have won that race. But yeah, and it's the aero blocking. It's different than like the old school blocking where you're just literally in front of them, and then you get
yeah,
some bumps and you get some bumps and runs and you get all this different stuff that yeah is not seeming to happen anymore. So it takes a little bit of that excitement out, but
right.
um, all in all, still a good race. I enjoyed Dover this week. Finish out the finishing order. Truex got the third position, and then Kyle got fourth, which was, I mean, awesome. Top five. I am all here for it. Like I said, finished in the top 10 every stage, and I remember him, and I think it was Truex and Larson. They were all like complaining about aero blocking in their post race interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because like I know Kyle was talking about it, and because he ends up passing Noah Gragson late in the race, but he felt like he could have passed him way earlier, but Gragson was aero blocking him.
Yeah,
And so he was like, I think we were the third place car. Like we could have gone and ran down Truex, but there just wasn't enough time because I spent, 20, 30 laps trying to get past Gregson and dealing with his aero blocking and stuff. And it was kind of funny about that. While he was giving that interview, fucking Truex's crew pushed his car right into Kyle.
really.
Yeah, so like it was one of those little things where Kyle just kind of like had to scoot forward, but he's like, "Oh Jesus, they're trying to run me over or whatever." And just keeps going. But yeah, there was a lot of aero blocking kind of complaining. So I wonder if that gets changed in the near future, like if they take that into account for the cars and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, Larson complaining about it's because he used it to win a race. So,
Right.
but I mean, yeah, I mean that's what I was saying earlier. I mean, it's taking away from the race. I feel like I mean it's not as exciting because obviously the guy that is aero blocking, uh, he's going to he gets the big run out of the turn, and the guy behind
Mhm.
him gets aero blocked and has no air, and so it's then you see gapping on every turn, and it sucks to see, you know.
Yeah, it kind of does. I'm not like a huge fan of it, but Before we finish out this Dover race, just a couple of more positions. So Chase Elliott, he gets the top five. He was kind of like Kyle Busch. He was just hanging around that position all day, and a really good race for Noah Gragson. Like I said, he was in fourth, so he falls back a couple of positions. But really strong couple of races for that number 10 car. It was almost back to back top fives, which is, I mean, amazing for those Stewart Haas Fords and really Fords in general. And then Blaney finished seventh. Bowman fell back to eighth. Daniel Hemrick was able to take advantage of some uh, late race strategy because I think he ended up like I think leading off of one of the cautions or something, but just kind of fell back. But once everybody ran a few laps, then he just kind of hung around the top 10. So awesome day for them. I'm sure they were celebrating that. And then we didn't get to see it, but I was watching the ticker, and Ross Chastain was in the top 10 after kind of being just not in it all race.
Yeah.
But then Ty Gibbs was able to get him right at the end, and then Chastain fell back to 12th to end the race. So not as good as I thought he would have been, because I know it's usually been a strong race for him. But yeah, he kind of just wasn't, in the mix in the top 10 really all race.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just not a strong day for him overall. I just think, like we were talking about earlier with strategies and stuff. I feel like there's just bad strategies coming into this week, and everybody gets frustrated. And obviously, Chastain just didn't have that top 10 car to finish out the race. So,
Yep.
but moving on into our Dover picks. Um, yeah.
Excited to talk about this.
I bet you are. Uh, so Kyle wins this week. Uh, he picked the race winner with Denny
Yeah.
Hamlin, so he got 5 points this week. Um, and then I come in second with an average
Yep.
finish of 15th this week. And then TJ finished with 19th. Or his
Great
average
average
finish was
finish.
19th, and then he came in third yet
Yep.
again. To to round out the standings, it's me and Kyle tied at 14, and TJ all the way back in with only 8 points. So
Eventually, he maybe might make it up there, but I don't know. It's
yeah, I
been
don't know.
it's been kind of back and forth. I don't. I think he won. He did he win Talladega technically because he picked or he had the best average
He
finish.
had the
That's
best
right.
average
He
finish.
had
All
some.
three of his drivers stayed in the race. You and I
Yep.
had one driver to wreck out, so he had the best
Exactly.
average finish.
That's right. But yeah, and then it seems like we just either have been switching the lead or like you take the lead and then I tie it back. So we'll have to see. It's making it interesting there at the top, and hopefully TJ can uh, make his way back up the rankings, make it a three-horse race. But I don't know. I know me and you are just fine if he stays down there on his own.
Hey, TJ loves his Fords, so
he
you know what
he
I mean.
does.
Like this last week at Dover, he picked Logano, Blaney, and then he went Toyota and picked Bell.
Yep.
So I mean, he loves his Fords, so I don't think he'll ever go away from them, and that's going to be his downfall.
Right. Might be, but yeah. Anyways, so it was a great Dover race, and we'll update you on the picks for Kansas coming up this week a little bit later on. But before we get there, I just want to kind of talk about some throwback schemes because as always, NASCAR does their throwback schemes um, for Darlington, which is not this Sunday, but it'll be next Sunday. Um, and that's always fun to see. So one of the cool ones is Kyle Larson. So I'm just showing this old Terry Labonte car that I picked up. I think at like a pawn shop or something back in the day, but his old 2004 Kellogg's paint scheme. So Kyle Larson will be running this scheme today, or sorry, next Sunday at Darlington. And then Bowman, I thought I had this Jimmy Johnson car, but I guess I didn't. But I do have this Kyle Busch car from his Nationwide Series days, but it's the same scheme. So this is obviously Jimmy Johnson's famous for this scheme, but
Yeah,
so Alex Bowman will be running the 48 in those colors. And then I know it's kind of like Hendrick has had really the cool ones because I don't have this one, but William Byron, he's running Jeff Gordon's 2013, 2014 paint scheme. So a lot of cool throwbacks. It's always fun to see, especially, me, like I'm a big die-cast guy, so I always get excited to see that. And I don't know much else. I know Kyle Busch hasn't run some uh, throwbacks in a while, at least since he's been in the 8 car, but I remember last year Chastain had that Dale Jarrett UPS
Yep.
throwback. That was pretty cool to see. And then speaking of Chastain, it's not a throwback car, but I kind of wanted to talk to you about this, get your opinions, because I mean, I feel like it's cool, and then it's kind of a weird idea. But Bush and Crocs, the shoes, make a like little kind of collab thing, and so
Yeah.
Ross Chastain's running a Croc car this week. How do you think about
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's a weird paint scheme. It's,
that?
I don't know. I mean, I like the Bush car.
Yeah,
It's just, it's a weird combination, I would say.
it definitely is. Which I feel like kind of Crocs are that kind of vibe, anyways. Like not like shitting on them or anything. I've never worn them, but you always kind of have that. They obviously stand out. Anybody that wears Crocs, like you're noticing them. So I think
Oh
it
yeah.
won't be hard to find this Ross Chastain car at Kansas this week. But let's move on to some other news. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. It was so funny because I heard rumors that he might not be getting. I think it was what's it? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting. Is it Kohler? I think it's just Kohler that he's sponsored with, and so he always runs those different schemes. Like I think he was the Hungry Jack pancakes, and sometimes he runs like Cheerios. I know Nature Valley Oats. Like he always has a different car, but it's all with Kohler. I think is the name. Might be getting that wrong, but anyways, I heard they might be leaving his team, and so I was kind of like, "Oh, is he out of the 47 car?" But no, he got a multi-year contact with JTG Daughtry Racing in that 47 car, so he'll be staying in there. So
Yeah.
good for him and good for them. I think they have you know, a good pairing. They work well together, and obviously he's a 20th to 25th place guy usually
Yeah.
every week.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets a top 15, and then the super speedways is where they kind of hope to make their big money. Because I think
Hmm.
he won the Daytona 500 not this year, but last year.
I think so.
Yeah.
Not too sure, but yeah. Yeah, moving on. Eric Jones is cleared to race um, this week at Darlington.
Or next
Uh,
week.
or next week, yes, next week at
Yeah.
Darlington, um, which I think is awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a really rough crash for him, and I was surprised that he walked away from it. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that was a rough one, going just straight into the wall. So I'm glad to see him coming back next week at Darlington.
Heck yeah. Good for him, and obviously hope he's healthy and like he's been powering through it. He's been clear that he's wanted to get in that car as soon as possible. I'm sure he's kind of bummed that he's still out this week at Kansas, but probably
Yeah,
just the best thing, heal up and give yourself a whole other week and get ready for Darlington. So, yeah, great for him.
yep,
All right, well, let's move on into our power rankings. This was an interesting segment for us last week, especially now we introduced our own, and because we always have our thoughts about NASCARs, but I will say I am happy that they did this. Noah Gragson cracks into the top 20 for the first time his season, and obviously I think that's deserving because he's had 2 straight top 6 finishes. Um, so he should definitely be in there.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, Gregson never. He's like a what 15 to 20 guy.
Yep.
So I'm glad to see him finally getting up there. His odds to win this week at Kansas are 100 to 1. So not the best odds this week, but like we
Yeah.
said, he's a 15 to 20 driver. Not the strongest driver, but glad to see him finally get in the top 20.
Definitely. Happy about this ranking. Not happy about the next one we'll talk about. Bubba Wallace dropped down 3 spots. I understand because he's had wrecks and Actually, his two worst points days of the season have been the last 2 weeks. So I get it, but as far as like what he's showing on the track, still, I don't think that he's like like he's showing strong speed. He's showing good speed. He wasn't like a top guy this week, but it's just if you look at the season, I get that he's going to drop, but I think he dropped last week too. So
Yeah.
like 4 spots last week, and then they
Mm-hmm.
drop him another 3 spots this week. So he's at 17, which is I think just way too low.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, but the good news for him is that he's always been really good at Kansas. And he actually won there 2 years ago, finished in the top five. So we'd expect a good race for him. What are the odds saying?
Odds are saying 12-1. So
Oh,
he's
yeah,
obviously he's very strong at Kansas, especially the last two seasons. So but yeah, 17 is just way too low for Bubba. He's had a strong car all year. You can't put him that low because he's wrecked out. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
um, he
Especially one
just
of them being at Dega.
yeah,
Like,
Dega. That's what I was gonna say. I mean, having one of them at Dega, where it wasn't even his fault in the first
right.
place, knocking him that hard is just that sucks to see. Dropping all the way back to 17th now. Just that's hard. But I mean, I think he'll do good at Kansas this week. Especially the last two seasons, he's been a top five driver
Oh, yeah.
with winning one 2 years ago. Yeah, I think I like Bubba this week.
Yeah, me too. Then moving up the leaderboard, Christopher Bell comes in at 15, dropping another 3 spots. Kind of understand this one because he's just had a really bad stretch. He's finished 34th or worse in 3 of the past 4 races.
Yeah.
So bad month for Christopher Bell. I know we talked a lot about him last week. I think being ranked too high is what we were saying because of his one win and because, he's a JGR Toyota. So maybe a little bit more fair for Christopher Bell this week. I think I said last week I don't expect him to be much lower in the power rankings, and here he is, 3 spots lower. But it's just hard to see because I do think he is a really great driver, and it's just been a bad season for him, bad luck. So hopefully it gets turned around.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I like 15 for Christopher Bell. I like where he's sitting right there. Like you said, bad month for him. Just
Yep.
not being able to put out strong cars onto the track as a
Right.
total. And his odds, though, get this: his odds to win this week are 10-1.
Oh,
So they got him pretty high this week
sure
for
do.
Kansas, and hopefully he battles back. I mean, like you said, it was a hard month for him, and maybe they could put a good car out there on the track for him this week at Kansas.
Yeah. Seeming like maybe the Toyotas are looking pretty good at Kansas. Might be their race. So I'll have to see if there's a lot of them up front. Um, let's move on to our good buddy TJ's favorite driver, who's up to number 14 this week. That's up 1 spot, which I think is more just due to people falling from above him from last week,
Hmm.
because he just had kind of an average day. He, uh, I think he was top 15, maybe top 20 at points, and so he never made it into the top 10. I don't think, or at least not for long, and just didn't really have a strong race. Didn't have a bad race, but I know he has been good at the tracks coming up. I know Kansas has been really good to him, but we'll have to see kind of how those Fords and how he's doing this year because it's great they've been good for him in the past, but hasn't been very strong this year for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like we keep on saying, I mean him and Logano and Kyle Busch. I mean, they're 1-1 this year.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kyle Busch put out a good car last week, so maybe his luck starts turning around. But yeah, Logano average. He's an average driver. I think now,
Hmm. Yep.
not really a top five, top 10 guy like he used to be. Um, yeah, his and the odds this week speak for that too, because
Oh
he's
yeah.
sitting at 40-1 odds this week at
Oh.
Kansas. So
Okay.
that I just don't think that they really like the Fords at Kansas this week.
Nope, I don't think they do. I'm sure we'll see more of that going forward. Um, and speaking of moving forward, we'll go up to number 12, where we have Brad Keselowski. And he drops 2 spots, which I think is fair. I know we talked about last week that he has not shown a lot of good speed at Dover for a while, and I think his odds were pretty bad last week, if I remember correctly. And then obviously he was involved in that early wreck, so just not his day, kind of like we expected at Dover. So I think this is a fair move for him.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Brad's had a strong car all year. Just putting him, at least next to the top 10 I think, is a good placement for him.
Yeah,
He did good at Dega. Um, I think he should have pulled that win out.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, and like I was saying, the Fords this week are not looking too hot because Brad's odds this week are 45-1.
yeah,
So I just don't think. I mean, NASCAR. Oh, I pulled these off of CBS, and so they don't think that the Fords are going to do good this week.
yeah,
And I kind of agree with them. The Fords haven't been too strong, other than Ryan Blaney.
yeah. Have to agree with you there. I know that Uh, the RFK Fords have been like I wouldn't say strong, but at least consistent a little bit. Especially
Mm-hmm.
Brad's had a good run until Dover, but I mean 45-1 for him. I almost feel like that's kind of like pretty good for him at least. I would have
Yeah,
expected him to be more
going
maybe
off.
60s or 70s, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, going off of kind of like what he has been putting up until this season, you
right.
know. Yeah,
I
no,
think he might be
I
getting a little bit of love there. Speaking
yeah.
about giving love, though, the NASCAR Power Rankings gave a lot of love to Kyle Busch, baby. He jumps up 7 spots, which I did not expect personally, but obviously expected a jump because, yeah, like we said, he got the pole, maintained the top 10, and got one of his, I think maybe his second top 5 of the year. So they really liked it, and yeah, hoping that it's a good momentum for him coming off Dover, going into a track where he is pretty good at Kansas. But obviously, it's a different story in today's day, like you said, and with RCRs. So we'll have to see. Hopefully, a top 10, I can say. And but I don't know. Do you think? Because I might have to say, even being a Kyle Busch fan, this is a little bit too high of a jump. Because so he jumps up 7 spots. I don't know if I said they put him at 11, and I personally, and we'll get into it later, but I think that some of the drivers behind him have had a better season, and I don't know
Yeah.
that he deserves to be that high.
I personally don't think so either. He had a strong Dover race, and obviously he should have moved up just a tad, but not seven
Yeah,
spots.
yeah,
I think Brad's actually had, I feel like, a stronger car all season. So I feel
hmm
like, I think,
Again, it just eats at my bones, but I have to admit that is true.
yeah.
So yeah,
Um, but Kyle Busch has some pretty good odds this week. They're giving him some love after Dover. Um, he has 25-1 odds to win this race this week, which
okay,
is pretty good.
okay, I'll
You
take
know,
it.
maybe they throw out a strong car for Kyle Busch this week.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to check on the qualifying and practice results after this, but yeah, hopefully. Then let's move into the top 10 where your boy falls down 2 spots. Ross Chastain coming in at number 10, which I think can be fair because it's been, I don't know, not terrible for him because he hasn't had any top 10 since Coda, which I thought was kind of wild. It almost doesn't seem like that's true, but looked it up and yeah, he hasn't had any top 10s, but he's still on his pace to have his best career average finish for a season, which is 13.3.
Yeah.
So again, it's like we've talked about, not a spectacular year, but a consistent year. He continues to be that 10th to kind of, I wouldn't even go to 15th. I feel like 10th to 13th like is where he is ending up finishing almost every week.
Well, yeah, and and I want to put in there too. I mean, he's had chances to win races all year.
Yep.
Just he's had bad luck with those.
Hmm.
And he's been in the top fives. Like he was in the top, what I think it was the top five at Dega until the big
Yeah.
wreck at the end.
Yep.
So I mean, he's putting up strong cars. It's just been a hard season, I think, for him, and I think that average finish would be going up if those bad luck spots didn't hit.
Right.
It's just being in the wrong place at the wrong time on the last lap of the race is basically all
Yep.
that is. You know what I mean? Which happens in NASCAR, and I can't be too mad about it. But as a Chastain fan, I mean, it sucks to see. Um,
Yeah.
his his odds to win this week are 22-1,
Hmm.
so not terrible, not the best, but I mean they've been putting out strong cars all year. I think he'll be up there in the top 10 this week at least.
Yep. Hopefully. Yeah. And so let's move on up to number 9, which is Alex Bowman. He actually moves up 4 spots from last week and into his season high, which again I think kind of like Kyle Busch. Like, yeah, he had a strong car at Dover,
Yeah.
but has he had the ninth best season? I don't know if I would say that.
Yeah, I personally don't think so either. I mean, I think Alex Bowman's had, a good maybe top 15 year, which is usually about where he's at. I just I don't like him being in the top 10. I think maybe anywhere between the 12 to 15 range, maybe,
Yep.
but not at 9. I mean, like
Yeah.
it's like you said, it's the same jump as what Kyle Busch had.
Yep.
Because they both put up some strong cars at Dover, but you can't take the one outlier and move them up that high.
Right.
So,
I have to
um,
agree with you there.
Alex Bowman has 22-1 odds, so the same as Ross Chastain.
Okay.
Um, I I don't know. I think I like those odds for him. Just I don't think he has a chance to win this race, but I think he'll be up there top 10 to top 15 maybe.
Yeah, that's a good prediction. I could have to agree with you there. Um, let's move on up to number 8, which is Ty Gibbs. Kind of been his position all year. That seems like eighth, ninth, maybe seventh a little bit, but he moves up 1 spot, and he had a good run at Dover. He finished with the top 10, like I said earlier. He edged out Ross Chastain there right at the end of the race. So
Yeah.
yeah, good race for him. Good season, and another one of those Toyotas. Is he looking strong going into Kansas?
Yeah, and the Toyotas always, for some reason, they're always up there in the odds. Um, he's looking at 12-1 odds to win this race, which is pretty damn good.
Okay. Yep.
Maybe, like I've been saying this whole, like the past 3 weeks, I really think Ty Gibbs is due for a win
Yes.
at
Mhm.
some
Yep.
point this season. I like his odds this week. I do. I mean, I've I've said it the last couple of weeks now. But yeah, I think he's due for a win.
Yeah, and this might be a really good spot to do it. I know that he's like been strong at these mile and a halfs, and Kansas, like you said, good for Toyota. So this could be the week. We'll have to see. Then we'll move up to number 7, which has just been staying there for so long, and I don't know how many times we have to talk about this, but Ryan Blaney again. Like, I don't know that he deserves to be this high. Now he did have a pretty good race. Actually, finished 7th at Dover and led some laps. Like I said, he took over the race lead early on, but then fell back. But still, overall, as far as the season goes, I don't know that he deserves to be this high in the power rankings.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that I think Ryan Blaney puts out the best Ford every week.
Yeah,
So I mean, I personally, I think I like him here at 7.
you do.
I do. I think because week in week out, he's usually the only Ford to be up there racing for a top 10 finish. I like Ryan Blaney at 7. His odds to win this race though are 20-1, so not the best odds.
A little bit
Um,
lower.
but I think that's the best odds out of any Ford this week to win. Um, Correct me if I'm
Surprise,
wrong.
surprise.
But yeah, I mean
Right?
that's what I'm saying though, is I think Ryan Blaney puts out a good car every week, and he's always a strong car. So I think I like him there at 7.
Yeah. I see your point. I definitely, I'd have to say, like, he just hasn't shown me the, top seven type speed quite consistently, at least. Like, yeah, he was good there, but, um, yeah, we'll have to see how he does going forward. Like I said, 20 to 1, not the top odds, but not terrible by any means. And of course, is going to be that top forward. But moving on to number 6, which I think I said this 2 weeks ago when they dropped Tyler Reddick, because they did that to him again. They dropped him 3 spots down to number 6.
Yeah.
And I know he didn't end up um, finishing really well, but he ran up front for a good point of this, a good majority of this race, and he got a lot of stage points and stuff. So I don't think that he deserves to quite drop 3. But again, we got another Toyota and another track that Tyler Reddick has been very successful at. So I think we might see him probably leapfrog yet again and go back up in the odds after this race.
Yeah, I mean, he's Tyler Reddick's been. I mean, he's always a strong driver. It's
Hmm.
hard to ever go against him. I don't think he deserves to fall back to 6. I think he's better than the
No.
next driver that we're going to talk about,
Yep.
at the very least. But
Right.
his odds to win this week are 6 to 1.
Ooh.
So really good odds to win this week. Win this week.
Yes.
Um, I want to see him put out a good car. It's hard to be mad about him winning a race. So yeah, I just don't think he deserved to fall all the way to 6. I think the next guy that we're about to talk about is. I think they should switch at the very least.
Yeah. And that would be Chase Elliott, who did drop 1 spot from where he was last week. And I know that we haven't been high on Chase Elliott being as high as he has been in the power rankings, especially once he got that win at Texas. I think that gave him a big boost, but he has been showing some consistency as of late. He has 4 top 5s in the last 5 races, so he's
Yeah,
showing up top, and he is still on pace actually for a career best 10.3 finish, which is kind of like, I don't know, surprising to me. It doesn't seem like it. So maybe we've been a little too hard on Chase Elliott, but still, I think, like you're saying, at the very least, the last 2 drivers, Chase Elliott and Tyler Reddick, should at least be flip flop, because it's great that Chase Elliott has been up there, but like we talked about a couple weeks ago, Tyler Reddick was definitely the car to beat. He got screwed in
yeah,
pit road and stuff, and he's had a stronger car, and he could have 3, 4 wins by now, really, if everything went his way. He's shown that strength. So, like you said, maybe at least they should be flip flopped.
yeah. And I mean, Chase Elliott has had a good month, so I like him being in the top 10, especially after the month he's had. I just don't. I think Tyler Reddick is a stronger driver,
Hmm.
and obviously these are all our personal opinions, um, But Chase Elliott has 10 to 1 odds to win this race, so he
Oh,
has worse
still
odds than
very
Tyler
good.
Reddick, and but still very good. I don't know. Yeah, I just think Elliott needs to move back to 6, and Reddick comes up to 5.
Yeah, I think that might be good. We'll have to see what power rankings I give just in a little bit here. But moving up to number 4, Martin Truex gets up another spot, which is, I think, kind of perfect for him, maybe. Like, it's just, uh, he's just had a really great season, but it's just crazy. Still winless. Still hasn't
Still
been able to
winless.
finish in victory lane yet, but he's been up there, and another guy that could have 2, 3 wins to his
Yeah,
name already if things went his way.
yeah, and I like Truex. I think I mean, he's always got a strong car. It's
Always.
always does. It is crazy to see him winless, but like Ty Gibbs, I think he's due. It's very soon. His odds to win this week are 15 to 2,
Okay.
so pretty good odds. I like him at 4 in the power rankings. I don't think you can put him above any of the 3 guys that are ahead of him.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I like Truex, and I really think he's due for a win.
100%. Moving on to number three, a guy who doesn't need to be due for any more wins, but he probably will win a bunch more. But we got a little mix up finally. The big two are no longer the big two, the Hendrick Chevrolets. William Byron comes in at number three, so he drops 2 spots from number one.
Yep.
Um, After getting a DNF, being involved in that wreck, which I know we talk about like uh, not being we're not big fans of, when you get caught up in a wreck that, and especially that wasn't your fault
Yeah.
for getting dropped down, but I can still see it. I might have different opinions on it, but hey, at least their big two are broken up, and I think the next guy we'll talk about deserves to be at least in the top two.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I've always liked William Byron, but I, I, I don't know. It just seems like he's always up there in the top 10, but he doesn't have a strong enough car to finish it.
Yeah,
His teammate, on the other hand, does, which is why I've always liked him. But um, William Byron this week has 8-1 odds to win, so pretty
ooh,
damn good odds, which is normal. I mean,
yep,
he's one of the best drivers in NASCAR right now, so um, definitely not surprising there. Yeah, I like William Byron falling to three. It sucks that it had to happen after he got involved in a wreck that wasn't
yeah,
his fault. Yeah, I think the next two are in the correct positions.
yeah. Well, speaking of number two, Denny Hamlin is up 4 spots, which again I think is just I don't know why these NASCAR power rankings are so. I think they're just too week to week,
Yeah,
because what he wrecked out at Dega, he finished last or second to last or something, but
and they dropped
he
him like
had two
super far.
wins. Yeah, they dropped him down. I think he was at three or something, and he went down to six. But yeah, it's laughable that he even had to have this big of a jump. But
Yeah,
definitely, I think deserves to be in the big two, like we were talking about. He gets that third win of the season, breaking up that Hendrick duo.
yeah. I like Denny Hamlin at two. I mean, I fucking hate Denny Hamlin,
Yep.
but
Just
but
in
I
case
think
we haven't said that yet, we are not fans of Denny Hamlin,
no,
but
not at all.
we have
But
to
I think,
respect what he's doing.
yeah, you gotta put a little respect there because he does have 3 race wins. Maybe this year's finally his fucking year to win a championship, which would
Well, yeah,
suck to
something
see.
something will happen in the I don't know round of eight or something that
Yeah,
he'll
yeah.
he'll get wrecked out and then he'll
He's like
he'll
he's like the Dallas
get
Cowboys
out
and
of it.
the
Yep,
Celtics. He just loves to
yep,
choke in the playoffs.
exactly.
Um, but yeah, I like Denny at two. I think his odds and his odds this week are 9-2, so
Oof.
pretty good odds this week. But Denny's had a strong car this whole time, this whole
Hmm.
season, and that's speaking on 3 race wins. So it's almost like William Byron last season with his 3 race wins last year. So
Yep. Well, moving on to number one in the power rankings, I think Wesley, you'd be a fan of this, even though you're not a fan of Larson, just because I know you've been on uh, like his train, at least just how dominant he has been this season. So Kyle Larson, he finally gets up to number one. I think they've just been kind of putting him at number two with William Byron being up there, but yeah, they move Larson up to one, and like you say, he's always battling for the lead. He's always there, and the odds always say that he's pretty much the favorite, which I wouldn't be surprised if they say that this week.
hmm yep, his odds to win are 4-1. So yeah,
Jesus.
fucking just they're expecting him to just fucking dominate this week.
Of
it's
course.
gonna be like a
Of
Vegas.
course.
It's gonna be like a Vegas week for Larson, where he just leads every fucking lap.
I freaking hope not, but we may be looking at that. Hopefully, the Toyotas have something to say about that. But I don't know. I'm gonna kind of throw something in there just because I just have a little different opinions on Larson. But um, the thing is like yes, he's been up there, but he hasn't been finishing races, at least not very consistently. Like for example, he's only got a top 10 in half of the races this season, and then only has that one win. Like for how dominant he's been, to only have that one win is kind of shocking to me. So I think we'll get into it a little bit later. But I'm not gonna put Kyle Larson in number one, at least for me, until he starts finishing those races, which I think is gonna come. Like it's definitely gonna be happening at this point. He could easily have five, six race wins
Yeah.
by the time we're done, if not more. But he just doesn't. He hasn't had it yet, so I'm not gonna put him that high.
So, I mean, do you think, just based off the NASCAR rankings, I mean, do you think that Denny Hamlin should be one because he has 3 race wins and has been proven to be dominant this year? And
Well, let's just get into it.
yeah,
So let's get into Kyle's power rankings. I do not. I am gonna still leave William Byron at number one. Just because he had the 3 wins, especially so early on, and he has shown that he is able to finish those races better than Larson. So that's what I'm saying. I'm going to give William Byron or maybe Denny Hamlin going forward that number one spot until Larson starts finishing those races, which I think will happen. Like I think that'll come, but it just hasn't yet. So that's like you're going to have to do some more work for me before I give you number one.
yeah, and I get that. I do. Maybe I agree with you this week after hearing your point because
Yeah,
yeah, I mean he's been in the top
look
five.
at
He's
that.
always battling. He's always battling for that number one spot, but like you said, he can't pull it out.
Yeah,
And it seems like every week we see him in the lead or in second. So
yeah. And then just something happens, like at he lost the wheel, I think, at Texas, or he would
mhm.
have won that race. And then Dega's Dega, so that's always a wild card. But he did have that the cheating scandal where
Yeah,
he had to start from the back and do the penalty. But yeah, I put him at three. Well, oops, put him at three. But I expect him to jump up. So that means Hamlin at number two. Him and Larson have the 3 wins. I could see them kind of flipping. I feel like overall, Byron's been a little bit better, but yeah, I think those top three are undeniable. I would say, like at least in whatever order you want to put them in, you have to put those drivers one, two, and three.
yeah, and I feel like I can agree with that just because, like you said, Larson or Denny Hamlin and Byron have 3 wins. They've
Yep,
shown that they can pull and finish out a race, and Kyle Larson can't. So
yep. And then at number four, I'm going to put Tyler Reddick just because of like what we've said. He's showing speed, showing consistency, and we just need to stop the you know roller coaster each week and look at the what power ranking should be is how they've done the whole season. I feel like
yeah,
that's how NFL and NBA like power rankings go. If the Boston Celtics, they dominated this last NBA season, and let's say they lose by 30 on a random Tuesday night, I don't think that they deserve to, drop down to three in the power rankings because the team below them blew out by 30. Like they've been the best. So that's kind of how I view it, and that's why I'll put Tyler Reddick at four. And then I would go Martin Truex at five, so just drop him down one spot, and then drop Chase Elliott down another to number six because of the consistency he's shown recently. So I think he deserves a little bit higher of a bump. And then
yeah,
I'll put Ty Gibbs at seven. And then I still think Ross Chastain at eight because of the consistency. Because I think he's been more consistent than the guys below him. Um, I'll go ahead and leave Bowman at nine. But then I'm gonna keep Keselowski at number 10, just because like I know he had a bad race, but like he's been showing speed, and if he had a race win, because not this last week, but the previous 2 weeks, he finished second in both
hmm
races, right? And if he got a win in one of those, I bet he's even higher above. So that's a little bit different. And then a big difference I have is I'm still putting Bubba Wallace at 11, which is probably the biggest discrepancy I have from the NASCAR list, because I think they're just being too harsh for his bad luck. And
yeah,
I think he's had a, stronger season than everybody that I'll say that's below him.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree with um, most of them. I might have dropped, Alex Bowman maybe back to 11, put Bubba at 10, and then Ross Chastain I would probably move back to 9. just
Hmm.
because, he hasn't been able to pull anything out yet. Obviously, he has had bad luck, but if you want to hold not being able to finish out against anybody, Kyle Larson, Ross Chastain,
Yeah,
because
good point.
Ross has been in that spot to do it, just can't
Hasn't,
ever
yeah.
finish it. So
Right. Well, and I'll drop Ryan Blaney down to 12, so that's another kind of big discrepancy. But I mean, I really think that, so what he was at 7. I think Ty Gibbs has been better. I think Bubba's been better, and I still think Keselowski has been better. I know Blaney has been like the strongest for it, but the results I feel like speak more Keselowski, especially recently. And then I still think Bowman's had a little bit better. Yeah, Ryan definitely hasn't been as strong as, especially when we saw him last year. And so I bump him down to 12, and then give me some integrity here because I put Kyle Busch down from NASCAR's. I put him at 13. I think that the top 5 is enough to get him that big of a jump, but not all the way to 11.
yeah, I mean, I still think that. I mean, just one. I mean, how many top fives has he had this year? Just the one.
I think it's 2. He finished. He was third at Atlanta in that 3 wide photo finish.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
That's right.
and I
Yeah,
can't
but
remember if he has another one, but
I think I would probably move Kyle Busch back to maybe 15 in my rankings, just because you can't. It's one to
hmm,
two outliers. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Other than that, he's been a 10 to 15 car. So I
even
would,
probably further in some races.
yeah, I'd probably move him back to 15, just because
Over, sorry,
no, you're
go
good.
ahead.
Go ahead. No, go
I was
ahead.
just going to say over Chase Briscoe and Christopher Bell.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just think Christopher Bell's had a stronger car than Kyle Busch all season. Obviously,
Yeah,
he's had bad luck. So, um, I don't know about Chase Briscoe. I don't know if I'd move him to 13 necessarily, but I'd definitely throw Kyle Busch back in 15.
gotcha. Well, to finish out mine, I'll put Joey Logano at 16, Chris Buescher at 17, Daniel Suarez at 18, and then I'm going to put Noah Gragson up above Cindric just because I think he's been doing really good, especially for that Stewart Haas team that's been struggling. So I just wanted to give him just a little bit of love there, pump him up 1, and I'll put Cindric down to 20.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with the ending there. So,
Okay, awesome. Well, let's move on to Kansas. We'll make our picks. So it's always been really fun race. I think that Reddick won the spring race, or maybe he won the fall race last year, and then the other one was when Hamlin actually did end up bumping Larson on the last lap in the backstretch and putting him into the wall and giving Hamlin the win in one of those races. So a little bit of drama there, and then it's a big day for you because this was the 1 year anniversary of Ross Chastain just fucking planting one right between Gragson's eyes.
yeah, I mean, I like Kansas. Kansas is always a fun race.
Yeah.
The 1 year anniversary, man.
Can
Back
you
up,
believe
back
it?
up, back up. Bah!
Dude, yeah, he gave him warning and warning and warning. And like I remember talking about it. I did not blame Chastain at all because Gragson's grabbing up on him and just like getting right in his face, and Chastain in the most calm way is like, "Dude, you better stop! Like, hey,
No.
stop!" And then he's like, "Okay, you're not going to stop." Boom. And I remember that kind of skyrocketed Ross Chastain's popularity. I think obviously that still, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say what's his most famous crazy move, the wall ride or this, or like just story, the wall ride or this punch. Because I remember like this was being posted on everything, ESPN, Bleacher Report, House of Highlights, everything. Like even non NASCAR people were talking about this.
Was Kansas the throwback week last week or last year?
No, always Darlington for
That's always
those.
Darlington. That's
Yeah,
right. Because
yeah,
that's when Ross Chastain could have won the race, but he decided to put He decided to throw Larson right into the wall with
Yeah.
himself.
Yep.
Um, that was when he was the bad guy, and
Hmm. Liked how he
I actually
was. Yeah.
miss that driving.
Yep.
But yeah, no,
'Cause he may be finishing those races, like you're saying.
yeah.
If he still is that bad guy and still is being aggressive, maybe he finished those races a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's why
Yeah.
the bad guy now, Denny Hamlin, has 3 race wins. Like I said, he made that move off of pit road, and may not been as crazy as Chastain blocking Larson there at Darlington, but it was still a aggressive move and won him the race. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, let's move on into our picks, Wesley. Unfortunately for TJ, he had some technical difficulties. We are trying to get him on again for this one. It's just been a crazy little process. But then he wasn't able to get us our picks. I tried to get them from him, and he does deserve the first pick, but I guess you snooze, you lose. So, Wesley, I'll let you take the first pick because you were second last week.
I think this week I'm gonna go with let's see here. I think I'm gonna go surprise, surprise with Larson.
Of course you did. Well, give me Tyler Reddick. Surprise, surprise. I'm always taking him, so I'll go with
Uh-huh.
Tyler Reddick for my first pick.
And then I think I will go. I think I'll go Martin Truex.
Nice. Good pick there. Good pick. Well, should I be surprising again, or should I just go ahead and do again what I always happen to do? I'm going to go Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin.
Go back to back.
Okay. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go all Toyota this week. I'll go Tyler Reddick.
Well, you got a shed. No, I got Tyler Reddick.
Oh, that's right. You already picked him. Let's see.
You son of a bitch, trying to steal my picks. I won't
Let's go
let you.
Ty Gibbs. Let's go Ty Gibbs.
Damn, that's what I was going to go.
Still going all Toyota though.
No, you got Larson.
Oh, that's
There's
true.
Chevy in there. I was going to go all Toyota, but with you taking, I mean, I could go Christopher Bell. That's a tough one. Maybe Bubba, as he's always been good there. But why don't I play it maybe safe? Try to play for that average finish. Ooh, this one's tough. Nah, let's just do it. William Byron. So we'll take mostly Toyotas, and then of course, those Hendrick Chevys. Surprise, surprise on our picks there. And we'll definitely update TJ's picks once we do get them, and
Yep.
we'll have to see how this goes. Me and Wesley got a tie, as we said earlier, tied at 14. So this will be an exciting one to see who comes out with the lead this week.
Did we tell everybody who what the winner gets for the season?
I don't know. I don't think that we did. What is it?
So what the winner gets is the other two have to buy them a 30-pack of beer.
Nice.
That's our trophy.
That will be pretty awesome. I would love that. Okay, well, thank you guys as always for joining us for the NASCAR special. We're like we said, we're both expecting a great race here at Kansas this week, and then we will move forward to the throwback week at Darlington after that.
Yep.
Alrighty, you guys have a great one. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.